Hello everybody, welcome back to Planet X News. It is July 10th, 2021. 2 solar flares, 2 radio blackouts. Our departing sunspot, AR 2840, erupted twice yesterday, July 9th, producing a pair of almost M-class solar flares. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory captured the 2 ultraviolet flashes. Pulses of X radiation ionized the top of the Earth's atmosphere. The result? 2 minor radio blackouts, one over Asia and the other over Europe. Now, sea mariners, aviators, and ham radio operators may have noticed unusual propagation effects at frequencies above 15 megahertz. Now, folks, I've been mentioning in my last several videos how things are actually, let's use the word, escalating on the sun. And this will continue in this pattern, well, over the next 11 years, because we are rapidly moving into this solar maximum. And we're going to be taking some views right now at the Solar Dynamics Observatory, and we're going to take a closer look at this pair of X flares. Now, remember, these were minor, but even though they were minor and moving off behind the western limb of the sun, they were able to create this propagation effect with the ham radio operators, the mariners, and aviators. Remember, now these are jobs, such as mariners, meaning folks that work on large ships transporting goods back and forth across our oceans. Aviators, ham radio operators, they're using radio waves. So basically what they're getting is what would seem like some real intense static. However, let's just put all the propagation to the side. Let's talk about the radiation. The radiation is my main concern. And just this past weekend, a friend of mine, he goes to Ocean City, Maryland, every year for the 4th of July holiday, and he takes his whole family there. And he came back just about 2 days ago, and I met him at his house, and he was telling me about his vacation, and he said, "Look, I got to show you this." And I said to him, before he wanted to show me what he wanted to show me, I asked him, I said, "Why are you walking so funny?" He said, "Man," he said, "my back is blistered." He said, "I just drove 6 hours from Ocean City, Maryland, back here to Pittsburgh, sitting straight up in the driver's seat of this damn minivan because I could not rest my back against the seat." And when he took his shirt off, I said, "Listen, brother, you need to go to the hospital," because his entire back was full of what looked like, dime and nickel size blisters from his waistline to the top of his shoulders. His 2 sons, both, same thing, blistered to hell. His wife is very fair-skinned. She was kind of smart. She kept herself covered up, but she still received some pretty bad sunburn across the top of her back and her shoulders. I asked him, "How many days were you out there just baking in the sun?" And he said, look, Scott, to tell you the truth, he said the first 2 days on vacation, it rained in Ocean City. And the next 2 days, the weather was kind of fantastic. It was low humidity and, not super hot, in the low 80s. And at periods of time, he said, slightly overcast. And I said to him, well, look, man, you may consider what you have as sunburn, but that is actually like a radiation burn. And it was terrible. Now, he works in a steel mill, and he operates a very large piece of machinery that, pushes coke back and forth into these massive ovens. So he's sitting in a control seat operating this massive piece of machinery. And his first day back to work, he called me up and he said, listen, man, I can't take it. He goes, what am I going to do? He goes, my back hurts so bad. And I said, look, man, I warn you every year to stay out of the sun. So let this be a warning for all of you, especially if you have little kids. Under the state that we are in with dealing with our star and the intense activity coming from it, your potential of receiving a very bad sunburn, well, those numbers are quite high. The percentage is quite high. Here, where I live in Pennsylvania, we had some pretty intense temperatures for 2 days. And then, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, our temperatures just dropped. And then it was quite comfortable. And then the remnants of this hurricane that came up through the Gulf of Mexico, swept over Florida, and made its way right up the eastern coast of the United States. Well, let me tell you, we had some downpours of rain that I've never seen before here in my neck of the woods. A section of Route 51 of people in the subway systems up to their waist in water, almost instantly trapped. So folks, you can literally see the dangers that we are being faced with. Not only just some sunburn, but these massive temperature changes and these heavy downpours of rain and the flash flooding. So, all of these situations are critical. And just a heads up, at this point in time, you really do have to pay attention to your weather. And I know all of you are sky watchers. And, if you see these intense black clouds rolling up on you, take a moment and maybe, with your cell phone, pull up a weather app or a radar app that pinpoints your GPS location. So you could actually see where you're at on the map and which way that storm is coming. There were several roadways here in my area that were completely washed out. There were hillsides that came down onto roadways within minutes. And then it was over. So it happened so fast, it caught so many people off guard. And that is where the dangers are. Now, let's take a quick look at this X-flare. I'm going to move over here to the Solar Dynamics Observatory, and we're going to go ahead and check this out. Now, up here in this section, this is a composite view of the sun. 3 different angstroms of extreme ultraviolet light. And right up here, you'll see these 2 pops. And that is the solar flare and the X flare, as we'll see in the upcoming views. That is what I was talking about in the beginning of this video. And you'll see those pops kind of minor on this composite view. Now, as we roll into this view of extreme ultraviolet light, now you're going to see that X pattern. And bingo, there it was. And there was 1, and then there was 2. And they were back to back. Usually, we only see, 1 good size X flare. I don't want to say it's really rare to see 2 back to back like that, because it does happen. But at this time in the sun's transformation from a solar minimum to a solar maximum, yeah, I would consider this to be kind of rare. So you can see it, bingo, 1, 2, and that caused the intense radiation flow towards the Earth, and that's what I was talking about in consideration with the radio propagation with the sea mariners and the pilots and ham radio operators. So we're going to scroll down. We'll take a look at the 211 here. And again, very, very large coronal hole in the northern pole region of the sun. Another nice size coronal hole directly facing the Earth. So, we'll see some solar wind that will be created from this large coronal hole that will continue to hit the Earth's magnetic field. It probably by now is, impacting the Earth's magnetic field. It's not going to do very much at this time. But again, right up here where my cursor is, you'll see the sun's corona kind of buffer. Now, you're not going to actually see the X flare in this level of ultraviolet light, but you will see the sun's corona buffer as those 2 explosions on the sun go off. What we will be able to see really good is in this ultraviolet light angstrom, you'll be able to see it really good. So when you really want to look at an X flare, this is the color. Let's just put it that way in layman's terms. This is the color that you would see these X flares really, really good. And again, bingo, you're seeing back-to-back solar flares. They created the X flare. And, this is what I was talking about in my last video. So, as we progress further and further into this solar maximum, we're going to see more and more of this type of activity, to the point where, I would say it's probably going to be pretty close to an everyday occurrence for, possibly 5 or 6 years. That's moving into the first half of this solar maximum. And then leading outward, the last half, or the second half of the solar maximum, the sun starts to gradually quiet down. So we are right in the infancy of all of this. Massive weather changes, massive heat waves across the entire United States and Canada, and it made its way right over into Europe. And other parts of the world are under intense heat. Now, a lot of this I have attributed to, and I've mentioned it many times before, is this Earth wobble. You know, the Earth is wobbling on its axis as it orbits the sun and rotates around the sun in 365 days. In that 365 days, the Earth makes one wobble rotation. Now that's normal. It's been like that for millions of years. But this wobble is now greater. So if you could just visualize in your mind the globe wobbling on that axis just a little bit more, 1, 2, 3 more degrees of wobble, meaning the Earth is wobbling and the degree of that tilt within that wobble is 1, 2, or 3 degrees more. Just 1 degree of wobble, we would notice. 2 degrees of wobble, we would definitely notice, and we would start to have what everybody claims as climate change caused by man. But you know, folks, man can't tilt the Earth. There's a reason why this wobble has become more extreme. So, the Earth is really not that far from the sun. Third planet from the sun. 93 million miles from the sun. Considering that the Earth's magnetic field, the sun's magnetic field, reaches out all the way to the end of our solar system and beyond. So what I'm saying is, we are only the third rock from the sun, which means the sun's magnetic field, well, we all know it influences the Earth. But for millions of years, has it actually affected the wobble and the tilt of the Earth? Well, you know, we really don't know. But when you add in another factor, which would be this Planet X stellar core object and its little partners orbiting around our sun intensely, rapidly, in a course of 28 days. Now you add in the magnetic field interaction with that object and the sun. So at points in time when this object is orbiting the sun, we are being affected. The Earth's tilt in this wobble effect in the course of a year, I truly believe, based on everything that I have researched just over the past 6 years, you can see the extremes. Nobody really talks about the ice melt in the Arctic, in the North Pole. How rapidly the ice melts as the Earth wobbles into spring. And then by the beginning of summer in the Northern Hemisphere, that ice is gone. Gone. All of the old ice has disappeared in the North Pole years and years ago, but nobody talks about it. I've been mentioning it for years now. I've been charting it. There is a gentleman in Canada. He is a professor at a university, and him, along with several of his colleagues, have been seriously charting this ice melt. And, that's a very, very serious situation in the North Pole, because the Earth is tilted just slightly more towards the sun during this period of time. So if more radiation, more heat is hitting that part of the Earth during those months in the year, well, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to melt. Our jet streams are going to just break up into the madness that they are right now. Well, what controls our weather patterns are those jet streams. So, in the northern hemisphere, as we are going through this freakish weather, down in the southern hemisphere, the same thing applies to them. Their winter times in the southern hemisphere are getting colder. They're getting worse. Now, as we switch things around and we move out of fall into winter in the northern hemisphere, well, I'm sure by now all of you that live in the northern hemisphere have seen over the last couple of years how the intensity of the cold, the Arctic frigid temperatures, and the massive storms that we're now going through year after year. And they continue to blame this on climate change. Well, okay, yeah. It is a form of climate change. But what they're not telling you, because maybe they don't really know, is why it is happening. It's not because of pollution and gasoline-powered cars. And as what is that Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, 2 years ago, it was because of cows farting and putting methane gas into the atmosphere. No. One of the other partial problems is, the chemtrail programs that have been going on for decades. They're trying to block out the radiation by utilizing the chemtrails. But what they're actually doing is trapping heat down at our level and a couple miles up. So that causes an additional problem. So it's kind of like a catch-22. You want to block out that radiation by using a chemtrailing procedure, which is harmful to the environment. But at the same time, you're heating up our atmosphere. So, look, folks, by now, I'm sure you understand that science is not always correct. Science is not always right. All too many times we respect these people with these flashy degrees in education. We listen to them. We take their advice. And we also allow them to teach us and teach our children who are going to college. Academia has been going wacko over the last couple of years. I'm sure you guys all see that in the news lately. So many things that are not disclosed to us. the human beings that inhabit this planet, and the authority figures out there that have more information than we do, but they're never going to actually level with us. You know? It's kind of like we're the little ants living on that ant farm. Just peasants. Deplorables. But anyways, folks, during this, or leading up to this X flare, this pair of X flares, you're not going to believe the photographs that were rendered on the 7th, 2 days before this X flare or these X flares popped. Once again, jaw-dropping, amazing, undeniable photographic evidence. You know, once you folks see these photographs, and I'll go ahead and list them out here in the video, and you could check them out. But I think to myself sometimes, okay, I have thousands of photographic pieces of evidence, undeniable, yet people still call you names, and they call you a liar, and you're this and you're that. But the tools are there. I've used advanced technology to uncover one of the biggest mysteries in our solar system. Something that astronomers and scientists and investigators and researchers have been trying to uncover for 40, 50 years, going back all the way to famed astronomer Percival Lowell, 1930s. Truly amazing. But will the truth ever really be known? You could tag that line on Planet X research. You could tag that line on UFO research. There's always going to be that one person that says, you're a liar. That's fake. But in all actuality, talk is cheap, words are cheap, and you can't prove it. Each and every time I produce a video, it is based on evidence, hardcore visual evidence. Just not me getting on here, making a video or doing a live stream and just telling you what I saw, what I've recorded. I'm showing you, and you are seeing it with your own eyes. The following photographs are from July 7th, 2021. Sit back for a few moments and check this out, okay? And please, folks, make sure that each and every one of you are subscribed to Planet X News. Always check your notifications with YouTube. You never know what kind of YouTube glitch might occur, and you might get unsubscribed. Also, share the video. Don't be afraid to share it on social media. You know, type down a few words about what the video is showing, what the effects are on our planet. The possibilities of what the future is going to be, what it's going to look like. You have the knowledge. The knowledge is power. And when you have that knowledge, you should spread that knowledge. Become the teacher. Okay, folks? Sit back, check these photos out, and thank you for watching.